All right, so AIM 11.3, who were the first explorers and how was the New World conquered? That's what we're looking at today. We just shared out some responses from the Do Now, so here we go. All right, I'll give you a second. So before we get to conquest, we could talk about kind of discovery and exploration, right? So we know, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. This is not something that's new to you guys, but so you're kind of rudimentary, kind of aware of exploration already. But it stands to reason that Spain and Portugal will be the first to do some exploring because they are living on the what's called the Iberian Peninsula, right? So this section of land that juts out into the ocean, surrounded by water on three sides, right? Peninsula. I see Spain and Portugal here. If geography dictates lifestyle, it stands to reason that these countries are particularly adept at sailing and exploration, and that is certainly true. And in Portugal, in the case of Portugal, Prince Henry is known as Prince Henry the Navigator, has and especially is kind of passionate about these topics, and he establishes a school dedicated to the art of sailing and cartography. So this is a state-sponsored, concerted effort to go out and sail and explore the rest of the world. The other important word here is the word patron. We used this word patron when we talked about the Renaissance, and we talked about how wealthy families in Italy became patrons to artists, meaning that they paid artists specifically to create art. And in this case, we're using this word again, patron, but we're talking about explorers. So someone who is a patron to explorers is basically bankrolling their exploration. So if I'm, in the case of Henry, he's a prince in Portugal, he says, okay, I will pay you, explorer, to go and explore the world. And I will make sure I will pay for you to have a crew and all the supplies you need and so on and so forth. And you go out and you discover, and whatever you discover, you claim in the name of Portugal. So Henry becomes a patron. He's paying explorers to go explore. That's the general idea, right? So this whole thing, if we go back to the three G's and talk about God, glory, and gold and why exploration starts at all, we need to remember what this is all for. This all goes back to the Ottoman Turks conquering the Byzantine Empire and cutting off Europe from Asia for the purposes of trade. So all of this is about trade with Asia, okay? And from this position on the globe, where Portugal and Spain are, you have two options to get to Asia via sea. You can go kind of east and then south around the bottom of Africa and up, and get to India that way, or you can go west and go around the other side of the globe and pop out on the other side and get to India that way. So the Portuguese are going to try to do this by sailing east. They're going to try to go around the bottom of Africa and then up the side and over towards India that way. But the Spanish, Spain, Columbus, etc., Columbus sails for Spain, by the way. They're going to try to do this by heading west, coming around the other side. All right, I'll give you a second. All right, so now that these places have been discovered, now it's time to conquer them. Okay, it's nice to know that they're there, but if for God, glory, and gold purposes, the Europeans need to take control of these territories, right? So how are they going to do it? We said that there's people already there, so inevitably there will be some contact and some conflict between these Europeans and these natives. And conquest is made possible by a couple of different factors that we see here. First being superior technology. For starters, the Europeans have steel and no one else does. I mean, that's an easy one. So weapons, this is the beginning of guns, really, also, and horses also, which no one had ever seen in the New World until the Europeans had gotten there. Just to put this into perspective, steel weapons and steel armor and horses are things that the Maya, Aztec, and Inca did not even know existed at all. Okay? The story goes that when the Spanish conquistadors get off of their boat, they are on their horses on the boat, and they walk, they kind of, trot their horses down the gangplank and onto the beach. And the natives saw them climbing, being on their horses and walking their horses off of the boat. And they thought that this was some kind of new animal, that it was half man, half horse thing. They didn't realize it was two separate animals because they had never seen a horse before. So the analogy we always make every year for this, Darth Vader kicks your bedroom door in with his lightsaber. The terror and shock and fear that you would have at that is the terror, shock, and fear that the natives have when they see this superior technology. Another factor is alliances. The Aztec especially are a warlike people, so they have not made any friends. So although there are neighboring tribes around that can't really compete with them, those neighboring tribes are going to be allies to the Europeans because they have been dominated by the Aztec and the Inca for a long, long time. So those alliances formed by Europeans and those neighboring tribes are going to be a factor also. And then finally, diseases. I know someone mentioned this in the Do Now, but Europeans will unknowingly transmit diseases to natives, killing millions. Now, this is a important topic and an important truth that we need to know going forward. And if there's one thing we learned throughout the course of this unit, it is this. This is the deal. When you are exposed to certain germs and bacteria for all of your life over the course of generations and generations and generations, biologically, you develop a natural immunity to those germs and bacteria. However, when we take a person and we put them in an environment that they are not used to and expose that person to germs and bacteria that they had never been exposed to before over those courses of generations and generations, they don't have that immunity, and those germs and bacteria can kill people. And that's essentially what happens here. The people that have been living around these germs and bacteria for generations are unaffected by them, the natives, but the Europeans have their diseases, right? Smallpox and measles and syphilis, amongst others, and they don't affect the Europeans because they've been exposed to them forever. But when the Europeans go to the New World and they start unknowingly spreading these diseases to the natives are not equipped with that natural immunity, and it kills them off. The number is somewhere between 90 and 95% of the natives that die as a result of conquest die because of disease, not because of warfare. Okay? So for every 10 people that die at the hands of the Europeans, 9 of those deaths are caused by disease. 1 of them is caused by violence. Okay? So this is important to understand. The role of diseases cannot be underestimated, and diseases and their impact on the native society will become a factor later in this unit also. So it's certainly worth mentioning. Okay, last slide. So these are the people that are going to do the conquering, okay? They're called conquistadors, and this is a term we use for Spanish and Portuguese conquerors of the New World. So the native civilizations that we talked about are Maya, Aztec, and Inca. So the Maya are eventually overtaken by the Aztec, so that leaves kind of the Aztec and the Inca left. And Hernan Cortez is going to conquer the Aztec, and Francisco Pizarro is going to conquer the Inca. And like we said, there's a lot of factors here. There's technology, alliances, diseases, etc. Okay, so these are the people that are doing the conquering.